Hello, everyone. Hello. My name is Payce. Here is my talk. So I've watched a few TED Talks in preparation for this, so I'm going to do an exercise. So we talked about being low income. Now we're going to imagine we are high income, okay? So you are a big shot studio executive. Oh, this is my talk. Why so serious? It's a joke or simple. Okay, you are a executive at a huge media corporation, okay? And you want more yachts, okay? We got to make a movie. So we got to make a new movie to get more yachts. Now, the key to making a movie, a big budget movie, is it has to be non-controversial, okay? It has to be non-controversial. And that means it needs to be C for consumable. Okay, so our movie, it can't be, like controversial in any way. It's got to appeal to the largest amount of audiences. So, right, okay, I put the plainly here, okay? More consumable equals more yachts. Alienation equals less yachts. Okay, so, all right, that makes sense. All right, so, but, okay, now this is my point. You can't just have a, like a consumable product without making it, a little spicy for your salsa, or, having a little extra sharp to your cheddar cheese, okay? It's got to have something extra. It can't just be generic. There's a lot of media out there, so we need to make the maximum amount of yachts, we need to add something more to this. So this is where modern cinema comes in. This is why we're adding, in modern mainstream budget cinema, we're adding some real social issues to excite our audience, but we are withdrawing from really making an opinion on these social issues because, again, we want to keep it non-controversial. So, okay, so I made this diagram here, okay? So, superhero movies, all right, superhero movies, you got the guy with the laser eyes, with the sword, he's like, pew, pew, pew! Everybody loves it. There's the drama, people getting hit, people dying, and there's like the romance and all that. That is represented in that picture, okay? So that's already awesome. My dad loves it, okay? How do we make shit like that even more exciting? Okay? We give a social issue to an asshole, okay? So in these mainstream movies, the asshole, the antagonist, is going to represent something that we're thinking about, a social issue that we don't really want to talk about explicitly, but it's still kind of exciting because no one really knows how to solve it. So, this is my point. Villains throughout mainstream cinema are often viewed with morally reprehensible qualities. There's always something about a villain that alienates them from us and aligns us with the hero. Often the villain represents one of society's monsters. Through the vehicle of a villain, writers can symbolize a distrust with a certain social construct or a value system without facing serious repercussions. So if we give the opinion to the asshole, we don't have to address what they actually said in a serious way, and we can keep yachts, make lots of money. Okay, so let's go into it. So I'm going to go into my first movie, The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight is a Batman movie where Batman goes in, he punches people, he's badass, he's a typical American hero, he takes matters into his own hands, he's a champion of societal order. We love him. America! He's awesome. There he is in the American flag. He is just ready to just save America. So he's sort of representing us, U.S., in this case. But, so, what they did in this movie, The Dark Knight, is they added an antagonist, the Joker, who starts a war of ideas instead of just a war of actions. He claims that Batman's championing of order and all this morality that people have is actually hypocritical, and no one really has a grasp of what they're doing, and it sort of follows from the deconstruction of a secular sort of society. Now, he makes characters betray their morality. He makes police officers do things that are against their code. He generally tries to prove to everybody that what they're doing is so silly and what they stand for is nothing. So it's a sort of nihilism, which is real, because some of the things he says sound like similar things to manifestos of school shooters. So it's an interesting thing here. Now, this is, he also in his backstory embodies like salient, potent problems with society, but they're very sort of like accepted, things that just happen, like abuse and violence and gambling and poverty, all of these things. He says, okay, well, everyone accepts these things, but then not all these other things. So why, to him it sounds like a joke. So I'm going to read you this quote. I'm going to read it like the Joker. He's talking to Batman. To them, you're a freak like me. They need you right now, but when they don't, they'll cast you out like a leper. Their morals, it's a bad joke, dropped at the first sign of trouble. So, right, as you can see, thank you very much. Okay, that is my time. No, okay, so, now this unites, I know, scary. This unites in the figure of Harvey Dent, or Two-Face, who starts out as a champion of order. In fact, it really rules his life. He gives himself solidly to it. But his order, through the Joker's actions, betrays him, and his loved one dies. So he ends up feeling betrayed by his own society and learns to embrace nihilism and randomness and chaos, which do hold a place in the natural order of things, and become a villain. So that's happening in the film. So I'm going to move on to another film that gives a salient social critique, Black Panther. Okay, so Black Panther addresses racism, oppression, subjugation, and combines these controversial issues with the superhero formula. Now, I know what you're thinking as executives. Okay, that sounds controversial, right? Nobody wants to bring that up at Thanksgiving or anything. So, this looks bad. It looks like we are going to, not pass go, not collect $200, no yachts. Well, okay, so what do we do if we want to address something that we really don't want, this sort of controversial? We give the opinion to the asshole. We give it to the villain, right? So the villain can say all of these things and bring up this conversation, but we're not standing behind a villain. So they stand as points, right? So Killmonger makes some really salient critiques of society. He points out some injustices of Wakandan society and similarly American society, if you think about it. His life, he was treated with a cold shoulder, and through his locality in the larger black diaspora. So and he deems Wakanda a failed society that does not show the passion for every person as they do just themselves. So he's making a salient critique, and this makes the main character, T'Challa, have to reckon with that. He has to deal with his ancestors, and he has to learn and accept that there are hypocrisies and lies that they have to commit in order to keep this stable society going in the way that they do, right? So it's almost the ugly truth of running a country. So, right, he makes him reckon with this. Now, this is almost sounding like Killmonger, the villain, is looking like kind of just like a very sympathizable person. So what the movie does to keep our yachts and separate us from this controversial opinion is it starts imbuing Killmonger with undesirable traits like rage, dishonor, revenge, bloodlust, cruelty, more and more throughout the film. So it turns into more of a superhero film now, and we're not actually thinking about the social issues at all. So at that point, right, we can go, woohoo, beat up the bad guy. And we addressed the social issue, but we don't actually have to talk about it. And so at the end of the movie, and this is exemplified in this scene, you want to see us become just like the people you hate so much, divide and conquer just as they did. Killmonger says, no, I've learned from my enemies, beat them at their own game. And T'Challa says, you have become them. And then the movie tries to show that Killmonger has become them, right? So it's trying to show that he's a walking contradiction, and therefore we should 100% be against him. And then at the end of the movie, they resolve by opening up an after-school program, right? So it's, it's like the conversation wasn't solved. But we still feel sort of the euphoric sense of an end of a movie because they seamlessly had it in with this superhero movie. And so my point is, right, both these movies use supervillains to engage in complicated topics and represent complicated critiques, but then they fall back on the superhero formula to resolve the story and not have to deal with the consequences. Thank you very much.